What is up, guys? Listen, man, no intro, no time to waste. My guy has something later tonight, so I wanted to make sure we got all the Texas Southern content possible tonight in this episode, man. I got my guy, Darrion Gray, with me, host of Locked On HBCU Podcast, the mouth of the South, man. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on the show, man.
No, I think this is great. I'm happy to be here, talk a little Texas Southern. That's my alum. You know what I mean? That's my alma mater. Excuse me. I'm an alum. So I'm excited. I start off every show saying Texas Southern alum, former TSU Herald Sports editor. So I'm very prideful in my school.
Hey man, I definitely appreciate you coming on. I know, for Texas Southern and some of these other SWAC programs, it's so tough to find people who just focus on like these programs that can offer a unique inside perspective. So when I came, I've been listening to Locked On HBCU since it dropped. I remember you making the announcement, man. So
Yeah.
first off, before we get into that, man, how has that been going? What has the feedback been on the Locked On HBCU podcast? I know the Locked On network is huge. They have
Yeah.
Locked
It
On
is.
for programs. So for you, what has the feedback been from the network and just people listening thus far?
Gladly, everything's been really good. I'm hearing a lot of good things from the higher ups, and I tend to think that it's a little bit of a different style. Like I'm 23, I'm fresh out of college, right? So I'm younger than a lot of the hosts that are going to be there. So it's a little bit different than a lot of the ones that I hear, and I think it's just because I am so youthful. I am so close to the collegiate ranks. But yeah, it's been a lot of good feedback. I've heard some good things from the people. You're always going to have to balance the good with the bad, and I had that Art Briles situation that I was covering
Oh yeah.
out there in Grambling, and that was a tough one. I'll tell you the truth. There was some people in there who just really just cared about the football side of things, and they weren't really with me talking about the social side of everything that happened with the Art Briles case. And they left some comments underneath the video that I ain't gonna lie, it touched me. It got to me, and I was kind of affected. But for the most part, like it's been a whole lot of love, and that's what this is family. Even when we disagree, it's typically love. It's just that particular one kind of knocked me off my pivot for a little bit, but I was able to shake back.
Man, I mean, listen, I can totally relate to you on that. I did the breaking news episode when he got hired. I did the news episode when he got fired. And then I
Yep.
also did one when he went on Jason Whitlock's show and talked about his experience at Grambling. And like you said, it's real for me. I'm a football first guy. So I mentioned, the kind of social side of it, but I don't want to venture into something that, like you said, I might not be as comfortable talking about because, like you said, you got to have your facts
Yeah.
as absolutely straight as possible. So I completely agree with you on that, man. But your alma mater here, man, Texas Southern. It was, a lot of people thought this Texas Southern team exceeded expectations last year, well, especially with a quarterback change, having a relatively young team, and being in a SWAC that was arguably one of the deeper seasons in the SWAC. So for you, looking at that season, man, what were your takeaways from the 2021 season?
My takeaway from the 2021 season was one of now we're getting started. Now it's a situation where we have to start building because I was there for 4 years, and my last year was the year where they ended up winning no game. So that was difficult. Like that was a very difficult season. It was also my first season covering sports for real. So like I told you, I'm fresh out of college, and I didn't start covering sports until I was really late into college. So kind of a late bloomer in that sense. So it was really hard to cover football at a time when it's no victories. But this was a really good start. And I think that it all really starts with the quarterback, as most things do in football. It started with the quarterbacks. Big body Andrew, I like to call him, because the guy is an absolute monster running, passing. I really like the kid. And I knew before he came to TSU, I had heard a little bit about him, and I felt optimistic. So, the three wins, I think it's a good start. It's 100% a good start, especially knocking off, Southern, which was a game I did not expect them to win at all. So when they were able to get 3 wins on the season, doesn't sound like much, but it was a beginning. It was a start for sure.
Hey, we got Miss Body in here. We in this mug. She said Big D. Man. So for you, okay, I want to put this in perspective for people because I don't think people realized how big of a win it was for you guys. Talk about what it meant for the program to beat Southern like they did. I don't think people realize the trajectory that set that program on and how big of a win that was for Texas Southern as a program.
Well, All right, let's go into the setting, right? Because I was listening to, I think, one of the Twitter Spaces, and some Southern people were talking about just the game and how it's all laid out. When you go there, and I'm not gonna lie, they're not wrong. When you go there, it's a lot more Southern fans than Texas Southern fans. So Southern felt like the home team, even though TSU was the closer school to Arlington. It felt like the home team because they did just outnumber them. And for the long time, I think this might have been TSU's first victory in this neutral site game. I think so. Don't quote me, but I think that is their first win, because I don't remember seeing them win when they came down for the State Fair Classic and things of that nature. So for them to pull off that victory, it was major. And I remember my guy Michael Badejo, just the emotion on his face, especially knowing that he's from here, right? So he's from this area, and the emotion on his face, I just thought really told it all, because it was one of just overjoy. And the week prior, they had won their first game against North American University, but I know a lot of people probably tried to write that off and whatnot. But with them knocking off Southern, this was their first victory that I think people really respected from them in, I guess, like a year and a half, like going all the way back to the year before COVID. So it was one of those type of situations where it felt like a monkey off my back when I saw they won. That's how I felt as an alum.
Right. And I mean, I remember going into that game, I don't think many people, even Texas Southern fans, gave them a big chance in that game going. I mean, everyone was just kind of like, yeah,
Guilty.
everyone was just kind of like, it's Texas Southern. If there's competitive, that's a win for some people. I mean, that's where that program was at. Even me being a little bit newer to the SWAC, like that's the vibe I got around the game, is people were just kind of like, oh, Southern's probably going to win. If it's close, shout out Texas Southern. Great job for coming and trying. And they go in there and not just win, but they put up a extremely big performance, and especially coming off of a quarterback change and everything that was going on for them, for them to pull that win off really solidified this team for me. But going into the recruiting class, man, it's a big year for SWAC football. Let's just be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
And so for you, what were the biggest needs for this team? And did they achieve that? And who are you looking forward to most in the class?
Oh man, I think everything with Texas Southern needs to be put in perspective, right? So I know it's a lot of TSU people probably here right now, so I don't
Yeah.
probably need to do that. But for those who aren't Texas Southern people, we see we see the Jackson States, we see the Gramblings, right? And look at what FAMU did last year. Look at what Jackson State accomplished, and also who they have as their head coach. Look at who
Right.
Grambling has as their head coach, and we see these classes, and I feel like they're large. They're like so large of classes, and it's a lot of hype behind them. That's not all the schools. And I think Texas Southern, they only signed 8, right? And I wanted them to attack more on the defensive side of the ball, but they went more offensive line. And I mean, who can blame them? Like, we're gonna get to Andrew Body, but that's really the main person that I feel like you need to be talking about on this team is Andrew Body, because he's the quarterback and he's really one of the most talented guys on that squad. And I think he has a future because he's only coming into his sophomore year now. But they got offensive linemen to protect him. They got some wide receivers so he can throw to some more players. They only got one player, and that was a linebacker on defense. I wish they would have got some more, because I think they need to bolster that front. But like I said, it's all a start for me. Like, I'm not looking for this year. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for maybe 2 years down the line, because a lot of times you don't just snap and be there. If they do it, oh, I'm happy guy. But if they don't, I'm not going to sit here and be upset, because I do think it's a turnaround. It's a rebuild. Those aren't things that you just snap and do.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they did a good job replacing the wide receiver spot. Losing Keelan Davis and losing Giles are 2 big losses. Let's be honest. Those guys are extremely talented, and both of them are big hitters. They're
Yeah.
going to get, if you need a big play, Andrew Body could have looked to either one of those guys and they could have had a big play happen. But like you said, it's just like the NFL with like the Bengals. Got to load up on O-line because Joe Burrow signs the checks for your program, and Andrew Body signs the checks for Texas Southern. Let's just be honest. It's the same with Jackson State. Shador signs the checks for Jackson State. If he doesn't play well, that team's in trouble. And same with Andrew Body and Texas Southern. Now, I do agree with the D-line. So for defensive tackle, I like Tyler Martinez and some of the guys they got coming back. I felt like linebacker, you return your leading tackler at middle linebacker there. But like you said, Michael Badejo is gone. That's a
Yeah,
big edge rusher you're losing. I believe combined, he was like a 5 or 6 time SWAC All-American. And
he's
so I didn't feel like they got a bona fide pass rusher. And in the SWAC, that's so important because when you look at the Southerns with Jordan Lewis, you look at what Jackson State did with James Houston and Antoine Owens, and then you can go down the line to Isaiah Land and Savion and Gentle Hunt with FAMU. You have to have that bona fide guy that you say, it's third and long. I need you to go put the quarterback in the dirt. And I need you to do it consistently. And I don't see that guy right now for Texas Southern. I see it at the defensive tackle spot with Martinez and some of those guys, and the linebacker spot's fine. And then also, I wanted to see that. I understand they're not going to get, the 5 4 stars that other teams are getting, but I need a corner that I'm really like that you can trust to be shut down one side of the field or be
yeah,
that guy to go make a play on the other team's top wide receiver. And I didn't feel like they addressed that like I thought they would. They got, I like you said, it was a small signing class, but there's still some needs. I think after spring practices, man, when the transfer portal loads back up again,
yeah,
Texas Southern needs to be one of the more active SWAC teams, I think, to fortify that defense, because last year should have beat Alabama A&M. If you could have got a single stop on
yeah,
Akil Glass in that offense, you would have won that game. So
yeah,
I agree with you
yeah.
there.
That game, I think I remember watching that game and saying, because I think they had like a 7-point lead late, if that's the correct game I'm thinking about. And I think
Yep.
Alabama A&M came back and scored a couple back-to-back scores real late in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I truthfully think that the point of emphasis needs to be on this defense because they're young and they have a lot of people returning, like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
the people who perform for them. But those guys have to develop. I'm trying to make sure I put this respectfully, right? Those guys need to develop because last year, the guys you had, it wasn't enough. Now, granted, they were young, so you're going to get experience. You're going to
Right.
get better that way. But I think you need to at least bring in more bodies, bring in more competition because competition makes people better. Iron sharpens iron. And they didn't do anything particularly well on the defensive side of the ball. So I would have thought that instead of going 7-1 offensively, you might have went 7-1 defensively because they have Tyler Martinez, they have Badajoe or had Badajoe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those were impact players, but it just didn't feel like enough of it was translating. And when you have offense like this, you need to build up a protection, you need to bring up a wall, but then you also need to make sure you're not in shootouts every game. That's important,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
Zay is some. I want to
yeah.
bring that up because Zay Hamilton is somebody that I've heard a lot of people talking about, right? So I'm not going to sit here and say guys can't get better. That would be extremely foolish of me to say
Yeah.
that guys can't get better or that they're going to turn around and just be the same way. They could come back with the same starting 11. Obviously, they won't have the same starting 11, but they could come back with the same starting 11 and with a year of experience or a year more of experience under their belt. Yeah, they can perform better. So I'm looking for people to get better. And Zay is somebody I've heard a lot about. Every time I hear people talk about them, they talk about 7, 7, 7, 7. Man, look at 7, look at 7. So he is somebody that I'm super excited about. And I've seen this team. Like I've seen teams be counted out consistently, and they've always put up a valiant fight. And I feel like last year more than anything else. So I don't want to make it seem like these guys cannot develop. I do not want to send that message because that's totally wrong. I'm just saying that something's got to shake, and typically they try to shake things up through the transfer portal, through the recruiting class. But clearly, coach has a lot of trust in his guys, and I'm a trust coach.
I mean, and for you, this is, you don't have to go too far into it because I know there's a lot of factors that play into this. I get asked a lot though on my live streams, Texas Southern's in Texas.
Yeah,
It's a hotbed. You're in a big city. What does the program and the coaching staff need to do better to, I guess, tap into that talent and have bigger and better recruiting classes?
that's a tough one.
Yeah, I know and every time I get asked, I'm like, oh, but like I know you've been on the university, and what I'll tell you what people blame. I've had multiple people blame the president and the AD for not putting enough effort into football. And I don't know if that's true because I'm not on that campus, but from your perspective as a student, is Texas Southern doing everything they can to, I guess, tap into the limitless talent that is in that Houston area?
It doesn't feel like it, It doesn't feel like it. I like to say that the one thing they could do is probably win. Um,
Yeah.
and I say that that's especially true because Prairie View's not far. It's
Right.
not far at all. So you really have instant competition. Like imagine you got Alabama A&M and Alabama State warring it out for prospects in Alabama. Well, if one
Right.
team is significantly more successful for a long period of time,
Hmm.
it's gonna hurt that team that isn't that successful. And
Right.
that's difficult because I've racked my brain and thought about this too. Like, why is it so difficult? Like, they're right in the middle of third ward. Like, they are right there in a hotbed of talent. There's so much. Even Prairie View's on the outskirts, like you still got to
Yeah.
go up 290 for an hour to get to PV. So they're not even as close as everybody else. Yeah, you're gonna have the Cypresses and everybody. Yeah, you got those people. But man, I've thought that same thing, that same question. I've never been able to come to a concrete answer. I don't know everything that the AD and presidents are doing.
Hmm.
I think that there's a lot of things that go into play. Like you said, there's a lot of factors. The vibe there, maybe some of us need to show up a little bit more. They have homecoming on campus now. I think that's a really good start. I think they're trying. And I think Coach McKinney, I think he's got a grip of the Houston area. It could just be the lack of success. Man, that's a loaded question.
I know it's
It's a
tough not
loaded
because
question.
like every time I answer, I feel like as an outsider, I'm gonna look like I'm hating on the program, and it's like I'm not
No.
because Texas Southern to me, okay, so me coming in, when I look at the layout of the SWAC, Jackson State makes sense why they're successful.
Yeah.
I understand because it's a capital. I get it. Me growing up in Mobile, Alabama, I knew exactly what Grambling and Southern were. Well,
Mhm.
we know what they are. We know what FAMU is. But when I look at some of these other places, you're telling me UAPB is somehow more successful than Texas Southern? That just doesn't like that shouldn't be happening, man.
It shouldn't, and I want my school to be better. I want more for my
Right.
school, and I think that they deserve it. And I think that they're in a situation where in Houston there's so much talent and there's so much to do, but there's also like a lot of big programs out there. Like you have U
Hmm.
of H and you have
Yeah.
things of that nature where they want to go there. I've when I tell you I've warred with this for about 3-4 years of what
Hmm.
happens and why it's not happening with the school. I don't know the inner workings with the president and everything. I don't know.
Yeah.
But do I think that football is treated as a big deal here? No, I don't think it is. And I think that it should be. And I don't know why it isn't, but I just feel like it is not treated like a big deal.
Yeah. And I don't want to ignore the comments either. Listen, I understand Texas is a tough place to recruit
Yeah,
because you
that's why
mentioned, yeah, you mentioned all the D1 schools, the FCS schools, even like now the Stephen F. Austins are recruiting at a just ridiculous level. If when you look at it, and so are the Tarleton States and etc. But at the same time, man, it's like it's so deep. You should be able to get somebody. You have to like there's no excuse anymore. But man, we'll move on from that. And
yeah.
a lot was made about the schedule.
Hold on,
The
I want to say,
SWACs.
I
Go
want to
ahead.
mention this real quick because
Mhm.
Sonic Boom, C98. I'm gonna try to call out some of these comments because I didn't realize I could flip over and look at them myself. I ain't never used StreamYard before, right? So this comment right here, both TSUs need to get back to
Mhm.
playing on campus. I'm not gonna speak for Tennessee State, right? And I think this guy might be subscribed to Locked On HBCU. I feel like I've seen him before,
Oh,
but
he's on everything. Sonic Boom. Listen, if it's HBCU, Sonic Boom C98 is watching it. I promise. That's my
yeah.
guy.
So love to you, man. But campus playing games on campus, that's important. Like I think that the student base will feed in. Like it's nothing to go to a basketball game. It's just right up the Tiger Walk.
Right.
But for the football game, now I always went because I loved football. But you still got to travel. You got to catch the train. People might not want to do that. And it to someone who doesn't really care, it might seem like an inconvenience as opposed to something like, oh, yeah, I'll go check it out. No, you really got to go travel to do it. I think that playing games on campus for TSU for homecoming the last 2 years has been very successful for them. And I agree. They need to continue doing that.
Hey man. Hey, I like the insight, man. But for the schedule, man, everyone said SWAC schedule. You heard all the debate about Jackson State schedule, Southern schedule, everything.
I was
For
part of the
you,
debate.
yeah, exactly. So for you as a Texas Southern fan, man, how do you feel about their schedule for 2022?
I like the schedule. So like, I'm looking at it right now, right? And you got North Texas, you got UTSA, and then you have Lincoln University. All the schools are HBC or SWAC guys, right? North Texas is a good one. I personally don't mind games against these bigger schools because the way I view it, and I try to put a positive spin on it and not just say, oh, they're cashing in. No, like let's use Zay. Let's use Zay, right? Let's say Zay has a big game against UNT, or let's say Body has a big game versus UNC. These are the type of film that coaches are going to want to flick on, okay? Because there's so much talking about this SWAC competition, FCS competition. You're going against University of North Texas. Like, Body had a couple of really good throws versus Rice. Those are the type of games that they're going to put on and say, oh, I see what Body's doing. I see what he's done against this level of competition. It negates one of the bigger arguments that FCS and HBCU athletes face is the competition level. So I'm very happy with this. And facing UTSA, I don't need, honestly, the scheduling argument for me was never that major. Like, I think somebody asked, why are you so hard on Jackson State about their schedule? Like, why do you care so much? So-and-so did this and that. I'm gonna tell you the truth. For any Jackson State people here, I don't care what anybody else did. I don't care, because Jackson State, FAMU, specifically those two, I'm holding them to a different standard. I look at them and I say, listen, I want so much, and I feel like you two teams could elevate how the brand of HBCU football is looked at. That's why I'm so hard on them, on those schools. And I think some Jackson State people felt like, man, everybody's overreacting. And I was one of the people who was also overreacting, but I kind of tried to distinguish myself from just talking about just scheduling period to talking about, hey, I think they have a real opportunity right now to really put HBCU football on everybody's mind and kind of treat it a little bit different, because they're one of the teams that people are already starting to treat different. And it's a trickle down effect. So that was one of the things. The schedules for me ain't that big of a deal, but I just wanted to clarify that because that was something that was on my show, I think a month and a half ago, and they came out with a good schedule. The schedule that came out wasn't even the one that was final, and I like the final schedule.
Yeah. I do too, man. And for me, it's brutal because I'm looking at the schedule too. To open up 4 road games in a row, and you got PV, who they probably aren't going to be as good as they were last year, but they're coming off a SWAC championship appearance. You got North Texas. You got Southern at a neutral site in Arlington, which is always going to be a tough game. And Dooley's going to, has brought a lot of attention and recruits into that program. And then you got UTSA, who was a top 25 team until November last year and had a great year. I mean, that's a brutal schedule. And then at the end of the schedule, you got Jackson State, Grambling, and then at Alabama A&M, 3 of the top teams that are going to be in the SWAC again. I mean, Texas Southern is going to have to win the games they should win. I'll put it like that. If there's a game that's 50-50, or Texas Southern should be, I guess, within 7 points. So if you're more than like a 7-point underdog, I get it. But if you have a chance to win, you got to finish. If you're Texas Southern, you can't afford to get upset. If someone upsets you, the season is going to get real tough for you, because you're going to have to fight for your life at the beginning and the end of the schedule. So you better win in those months of late September to October.
Yeah, and that even goes to the conversation, not just about this season, right? Because that's important. But remember what I said earlier, I'm playing the long game for this school. So winning games you're supposed to win, and maybe even some games you're not supposed to win, that helps recruiting. Like that, those are things right there that help recruiting. You're gonna have people who see you upset a Southern, and it's like, oh, okay. TSU, let's look at that. Let's look at that. And I think that it's open right now because Dooley just left PV. Dooley just left PV, and they had some really good coaches. So who knows? They went Simmons, and I think Dooley backdoor right after Simmons. So
yeah, he did.
Like, it's gonna be tough, but I think that they're kind of open right now to try to go and get you some talent, steal some of that talent back. Yeah. You win that game versus PV. PV might be one of the bigger games because they've been losing a bunch, but you win this game, you start winning. That'll swing the tide of how you looked at in Texas. That's another thing we're not talking about. You're not as successful, but you also lose into that team.
And you're 1-0 to start the season. That's huge going into that. So when I'm looking at the schedule, man, like right now, I want to get your opinion. For me, winnable games, PV, that should be a game you should win. I think Southern right now is probably a game will be about a 7-point favorite, but a win there would probably put your season like in that A+ range, like where you're like, we have
Yeah.
a chance to do something special. I think Alabama State's a winnable game, especially at home. I think UAPB should be a win. If Texas Southern can't beat UAPB, they're in trouble going into the month of late October, November. And Alcorn's going to be a tough game on the road. It's always tough to go play in Lorman. So I'll give you guys the benefit of that doubt there, but
Yeah.
I think they got to pull an upset in November. So for me, you have to either beat Jackson State, Grambling, or Alabama A&M. You cannot lose all three of those games.
You can be Alabama A&M.
Yeah, I agree. I agree you can, but I'm saying you have to win at least one of those.
You can beat
Yeah.
Grambling. I was talking about this on the show Wednesday. So I guess to this morning. Like, I don't know what Grambling is. Like, no disrespect.
Yeah, that's fair.
I would say you can beat Grambling because I don't know what Grambling is. I have no clue. And there's been so much media silence about Grambling that we don't really know how it's going over there. But I know that they're overhauling and retooling everything on the offensive side of the ball. So I'm not gonna write it off. Look, I think the Jackson State is gonna be it's gonna be a tough one, right? I think you should definitely be the underdog in that. But as far as right now, stating this today and what this is March, the end of March. I don't know what Grambling is. I don't know what Alabama A&M is. And then can I click comments too?
No, which one do you want to click up?
Okay, you got it up here. I feel old. I don't know how to work these things. But Craig Hall, dead on. You got to clean that up. We talked about that earlier. You have to clean that up. You clean that up. Look at the offense, man. Like you have Drake Centers who was there. Their tackles on both sides and play tackle on both sides. This is the offense. Like we haven't even talked about Andrew Body. Like somebody told me Andrew Body is the best quarterback in the SWAC or will be the best quarterback in the SWAC this year. Like no lie. No lie. I've heard this straightforward. And I know there's been a lot of talk about other quarterbacks, but somebody told me that, and somebody whose opinion I really trust, who watches more film than even I, of everybody around the SWAC, says that's the guy. He's the best one. I've been hype about him since before he came to TSU. And I really think that this is a guy who could really change the fortunes of TSU. It's already happening. You went from 0 wins to 3 wins. Let's get it, man. Let's get it. I think that there's so much talent here. Jaron Johnson, like there's talent on that offensive side of the ball, and it really is. And cleaning up the defense is going to be imperative. It's going to be imperative. And if they can take care of that, that's why I stress so much on the defense, because I see the offense is so bright. I really think that this offense is going to take a step forward, even though it's going to be hard to do, seeing that you were the second best offense in the SWAC last year, and the first offense led by Aquil Glass. So you're right on track to just continue trending upwards. This offense is for real.
I mean, I think with the quarterback, that we could talk about that real quick before we get to, our last two, because I know you got to get out of here in just a minute. But for me, I think it's Shador Sanders and Andrew Body. There's nobody else even in the conversation right now, because we don't know what Musa is going to be. We don't really know who's going to start between Musa and McKay. I've heard Musa has really established himself there, so we'll see. We don't know who's playing at A&M. We don't know if it's Quincy Casey. We don't know if it's Jaron Williams. We don't know what Holloway is going to be at Grambling. We have no idea. We don't know who's going to start at UAPB. We don't know who's going to start at Alabama State. We don't know who's going to start at PV. There is nobody established outside of Shador Sanders and Andrew Body. And so for me, any QB conversation you have, it starts with Shador because he won the SWAC, so I'll give him a slight boost. Yeah. And then it's Andrew Body. And then I'll take the list, cut it, and then on a different piece of paper in another room, everybody else could sit on there. It's not even close to those two, in my opinion. So, I mean, I completely agree with everything you say. But, man, biggest questions. So this could be position battles. This could be anything you got. What are you worried about, or what do you want to see entering spring practices?
Defense. It's the same thing. But let's use a little bit of variety. Right. Let's use some variety, because we've already spoke about the defense. So let's not continue to beat a dead horse. Everybody knows how we feel about the defense, and everybody can look and see. I want to see how they're going to replace Keelan Davis. Like Jaron Johnson is a guy who I think he has some talent. I think they have guys, but I want to see who's going to step up and emerge as a number one receiver, because Keelan stepped up last year. The year before that, Donnie Corley stepped up. So they've had some guys who have really stepped up in years past and really established themselves as a reliable target. I want to see what's going to be this year. And with a quarterback like this, listen, I've been there. They ain't never had a quarterback like this. They haven't. All right. And this is the offense that the offensive line allowed I think third or fourth least amount of sacks this season. They ain't never had an offensive line like that. Like I remember seeing whether it was, gosh, I want to be able to name more than just one guy because this guy went to high school with. I don't want to seem like I'm playing favorites. DeAndre Johnson and Devin Williams. Like I was trying to remember what his name was. I remember seeing them running for their lives. Like I remember that. Mm-hmm. This offensive line is protecting body. They're running the ball really well. They got Ladarius Owens. They got Ja'Cory Howard. Like these guys are really running the ball well, and they have their quarterback running as well. I really do believe that this offense is good. You get one of those wide receivers that doesn't even have to take the top off. And everybody gets excited about that, but it doesn't have to be that. Just give me a wide receiver who's consistent. That's what I'm looking for. If it's not the defense, who's going to be that wide receiver that steps up this year?
Man, I can't agree more because you lost your probably top two wide receivers. I think Giles was right there. I mean, I think Keelan was kind of the leader. But for me,
Miss Body said Darrion looking real good, by the way. So
yeah, I saw that. But you know, for me, I even though I don't want to harp on defense, I won't mention, the pass rusher. I just want to see if we can, if not we, but if Texas Southern can limit the explosive plays. I feel like that's what killed them against. I think Jackson State's the perfect one. You're in that game and you're motivated. You're like, we can win this going into the fourth quarter. And then you give up, I believe it was like a 50, 60-yard bomb to Malachi Wadman. And all the air just seemed like it was sucked completely out of the team. And then they go on and just, the defense feeds off of that. Then Shador throws another touchdown, and it was a problem. And then the Alabama A&M game, Akil Glass hits a big play, takes the air out of that defense, a quick 3-and-out on the offensive side because of some mistakes. They go down and win that game. And so it was a season of, can you limit the explosive play? Because for me, they allowed something like 40-something points a game. With Andrew Body at quarterback, Texas Southern is not going to average less than 35 points a game. I'll put it there, and I will stand on that. Texas Southern will be a top 3 offense in the SWAC next year, in my opinion. And so if you can just have a middle of the road defense, if you can have number 8, number 9, give me something like in the top 10, Texas Southern has a chance to be special, but that defense can't allow explosive plays. And I do agree with the tackle situation looking really nice, but I want to see, can that offensive line take the next step? Can they take that FAMU step we saw last year with Keenan Forbes and Jay Jackson Williams and all them, where they just went to the next level and led the SWAC in the least amount of sacks allowed. And same with PV. They stepped up in a big way last year, protecting Juwan Pass, which led them to the SWAC championship. Like some of the comments said, that division's wide open. So if you solidify the O-line, because we know what happens when Andrew Body has time. And when he doesn't, if he gets out of the pocket, problem number 2, because that dude can move. But if that defense can just be average, man, it's going to be big. So I want to see, what they bring to that. But we talked about all that, man. Breakout players quickly, man. Who are some of the players you're looking for to break out for Texas Southern this year?
Body's winning SWAC Offensive Player of the Year.
Oh, they're not gonna like that. I wish I had the little bomb, the bomb sound or anything like that. And that people are gonna get on that.
Body's winning Offensive Player of the Year. So that's my breakout guy. But let's get somebody we haven't really talked about a lot. I'll give a position I wanted to be at. And I think this could really change things. And it's something that you've been talking about. Jared, there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys there. I'm having fun reading these comments, man.
Yeah.
Because we don't really have that on Locked On HBCU. Like it's more recorded. It's not typically streamed. So I'm having fun doing this. But point being, I would like to see an edge rusher breakout because I think that could change the fortunes of the team. You can rush the passer better. That's going to help out the secondary. A lot of people, from what I hear, if I had to pick a player and not just a position, it'd be Zay, because I've heard a lot about Zay Hamilton, a lot of hype, and I want to see what it's all about. So if I had to pick an offensive breakout player, it's Body. If I had to pick a defensive guy, it's Hamilton, just to put it like that.
I do think Body's going to have a big year, man. I will agree with you on that.
Yeah,
but I do.
Why not? The only thing that's going to stop Body from getting Offensive Player of the Year is if the team is not successful. Like, I think he's going to put up stats to be able to get it done. That's the only thing that I think could stop him, is maybe team not successful. But I think he has the talent and the weapons that, from what I hear around him, let's get it done.
at least an All-American award, man. I just need an All-American award. Give my guy some respect. And Texas Southern, for me, the defensive guy, and it's someone that you probably know, and it's somebody that Texas Southern people in the chat probably know. But I'm going to have him on the show this week. He gets no shine. I mean, it's because he's not big on social media. Tyler Martinez, a defensive tackle.
Yeah.
That dude is a dog. I mean, listen, at defensive tackle, guys, led the team in sacks, was second in tackles. And there were people, listen, I'm not calling any names. I don't want people to yell at me. That there's some people who made first and second team All-American that did not have the season he did.
Yeah.
From the defensive tackle spot. And he is motivated. I've talked to him, and he said he's going to come on here and tell people why he's the best defensive tackle on the SWAC. And it's not even close. And so I'm looking for him to have a big year, man. That dude has a six-pack and weighs 300 pounds. That shouldn't be real. That should not be allowed anywhere. And so for me, and listen, I'll address this comment real quick. They want you to be a coach somewhere, man. I've seen like 10 comments saying that you should be a coach somewhere.
Oh man, well,
I appreciate it. Apparently they loving it, man. But on the offensive side, man, I expect Texas Southern to have 2 All-American offensive linemen. I don't know who it is. The 2 tackles I know are experienced. They're good, but it's real hard to have 2 guys at the same position on the All-American team. I want to see if they can have 1 tackle and 1 guard make the All-American team, whether it's first, second, or even third for Phil Steele, who does 3 teams for the All-American. For me, I think the offensive line as a whole will be a breakout. And also, I think they're going to be helped by having a mobile quarterback in body, because even if you don't block perfectly, if you can just get the defense, as a former O-lineman, if I know my quarterback can run, all the pressure's off me. Let me get a hand on you, and if he can get out of here, it's off to the races, and then it's up to your linebackers to make a play. So I think the offensive line and Tyler Martinez are my picks, and I'm kind of biased for the O-line as an O-lineman. They get no talk, and so it aggravates me on that end. But
I'm biased as an O-linebacker, so I'm with you.
I love it, man. So for you, what are your way too early expectations for Texas Southern? So what you can do, man, give me a ceiling, give me a floor, and then kind of give me like the reasonable pick.
Well, I think a floor should be 3-8 again.
Okay.
I think you're at a point where you don't want to go down. And whether that means knocking off a Lincoln, knocking off a game you don't expect, and then picking out another one. I think 3-8 is a reasonable floor to where I should say, all right, don't go. Like, I think I'm being pretty cool about that one. I don't know. Looking at it, let's see, because everybody's so up in the air.
I was pulling up the schedule too to give mine, because sometimes I'll throw a number out there, and then the comments on this channel and some other channels, they don't let you rest. If you misspeak on something, there's gonna be 10 people in the comments to let you know for 10 minutes.
I'll say this. Look, okay. Let's just throw out 5 or 6. Let's just say 5 or 6, and reasonably, I think 4. I think if you get 5 wins, like. And if you get 6, you had a success. That's a really good season, I think, for TSU.
Yeah.
Is 6 wins. I'm looking at these games. I'm trying to count it up real quick. Let's see. I'm gonna be super optimistic. Let's say they beat Alabama A&M, because I don't know what's going on with them. Let's say they knock off Grambling. Yeah, let's say they knock off Grambling. I'm gonna give them the L to Jackson State. Let's say they knock off Lincoln. Let's say they lose in Alcorn, because Alcorn's tough to play in, right? Let's just give them because it's always gonna be them type of games. They said they beat UAPB. You recording all the record predictions.
Listen, Sonic Boom don't let me live down nothing. I'll say something just in passing, and he's gonna let me know.
Let's see. Let's say they beat. Dang, I feel like I'm giving too much wins. I feel like I'm being a homer.
You about to come out here and be like 12-0. It's over. 12-0. I need it.
Yeah. Let's see. Cause I got losing to Jackson State, Alcorn. 8 wins. You know what? AJ said 8 wins, so I'm going with 8 wins because AJ said
so that's 8-3. 8-3.
Yeah, sure. Let's do that.
Okay, I'll make you feel better, man. That's what I was gonna pick. I think best case, like ceiling is 8-3. Because here's how I'm looking at it. North Texas, to me, listen, I think it could be a close game.
Yeah,
I pretty much think North Texas is going to win that game.
No, I'm going 7-4.
7-4.
I already have them losing to Alcorn. I already gave them a loss to Alcorn. Yeah. Thank you, HBCU Spotlight. Love. Appreciate that. Yeah, 'cause I already have them losing Jackson State, Alcorn, and I don't think they're gonna beat UNC. Now, if they really hot, they might be able to sneak UTSA.
Oh,
But
I forgot about UTSA. I wasn't even looking. Yeah, 7-4
I'm going
probably. I think
7-4.
7-4.
7-4. If they get to
Yeah.
8, they get to 8-3. If they get to 8-3, I'm going ballistic. Like I'm.
Listen, I'm gonna have you on the show, and I need you just punching air, and I mean, I need you celebrating. You
Yeah.
got free reign, but yeah, I see North Texas is probably a loss. UTSA is real. Listen, UTSA is underrated. They're building a really good program.
Yeah.
I got them losing to that, and I think they lose to Jackson State, and then I think they lose to either Alcorn or Grambling. I think those two games are probably like the real tough ones, and then at Alabama A&M as well. But the only three for sure losses I see are Jackson State and the two FBS programs.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what I think the most important games are. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh no, you're
I'll
good.
tell you what I think the most important games are. PV, Southern.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta get one of these road games. One of these road games. So whether that's Alabama, A&M, whether that's Alcorn or UAPB. No, I'm gonna say Alabama, A&M, or Alcorn. Like you got to get those. You got to get those. No, I don't think they win the West. I don't think they win the West.
So 7-4, no SWAC championship.
I don't think they get the West because I'm trying to think. Oh no, the expansion ain't happened yet. So JSU still in the East, right?
Yeah. So the West right now is like it would be like PV, you guys, Southern, Grambling, Alcorn. I feel like I'm still missing some off the top of my head. It's so tough because like I don't have like a list, but yeah, it's like that side, and like the West is like Alabama State, Valley, Alabama A&M, Jackson State, the other side is just brutal. I mean, I wouldn't want to be over there with them.
Y'all, I love the comments. There's a lot of positivity in here.
Listen, I'm sorry. Listen, I love Andrew Body, and I rock with my guy Michael Badigeau. I rock with my guy Tyler Martinez. They're not going to the playoffs. Listen, bro. They don't play a single out of conference FCS team. They're not going to the playoffs unless they upset North Texas and UTSA. I'm sorry.
It's gonna be tough.
UAPB is the team I missed. UAPB is the team I missed.
Yeah, I don't know. Saying 7-4 is extremely generous, and 7-4 might be able to get them to East because Alcorn is there now. I mean,
it depends on who they lose to. Like losing to PV, it's over.
Yeah, you have to beat PV. Like,
yes, that's a must win.
I don't even care. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I don't even really care about 80% of the rest of the schedule, but beating PV will be pivotal. Pivotal because you got to get it done. You got to get it done, man.
I mean, I'm with you, man. And he said, "How dare you?" Listen, if Texas Southern makes the playoffs, listen, me and my guy here will have an absolute party with the call-in show on this podcast, man. But listen, guys, my guy
I want to do something real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
I want to talk about coverage.
Okay.
I want to talk about coverage, and I want to say thank you to the Bluebloods, right? That podcast showing out. Locked On HBCU. Like these things are important. I want to be very serious with this. Like this is, y'all hear my tone. I'm serious about it. Listen, these places, these podcasts, these YouTube shows that you see, these are important. And I say that because I've seen a couple comments from not on my posting, but just in general, all these HBCU podcasts popping up. They're just occupying space, this, that, and the third. Appreciate this. Appreciate the content that's looking at HBCUs, because what we want to go back to when nobody was covering it, I'd rather have an excess of people who are trying to cover these sports rather than be sitting here fighting about nobody caring. And at the end of the day, that goes to the local media, because student media is important. If you're a student listening to this, respect the student media. They are important. You know what I mean? Local media, I need to get on that. There's no reason that I should be struggling to find how Texas Southern's spring practice has been going. I shouldn't have to only rely on people who are around, like on campus. The Houston Chronicle should be covering that. Your local media in whatever city that school is in should be covering it. These things are important. Like these things should be valued, and you should be asking for that. That's one of the reasons I'm doing this right now. At the end of the day, I wanted to get on the radio somewhere where an HBCU was and talk about the sports. That's what I wanted to do. Russell Haynes. I'm just a guy talking sports, man. I'm just I'm not a
Yeah,
player. I'm not a coach. I'm just a
yeah,
guy. I'm a guy talking sports who
well,
went to Texas Southern.
yep.
Host of Locked On HBCU. Right, that's where you can find me. So yeah, we will. I don't know if he's talking about the school or everybody,
Yeah,
but
I
these
think it's the
things have to
school.
get these things have to get leveled up, man. But I'm talking specifically like, yes, schools need to get better, but that's a conversation for another time.
Oh man, listen.
All of these
y-
newspapers, they need to be
yeah.
getting coverage. You know, I'm not going to really talk about the radio because radio kind of comes and it goes. If you catch it, you catch it. If you don't, you don't. But these articles, like
Oh,
local media needs to be covering it. It should not only have to be podcast. I know coach won't let us film practice. One time I couldn't even go to practice. I tried to come in the spring practice my last year, my senior year. Maybe that wasn't my senior year. It was probably his first year. No, that was senior. I don't know. COVID hit at a weird time, so I don't really remember when everything was. Like
yeah.
I tried to come in and do it. It's hard. I get it. And like I'm not gonna shun coach because I know he got his reasons to do everything. But at the end of the day, local media everywhere, we need to be demanding more from that. Yes, I'm sitting here talking, but I'm new. I'm a novice in the game, and I'll work on getting my connections up. But until I have my connections up, I gotta depend on knowing what people are doing from other people so I can react. It's a lot more reacting than digging because I don't have those. Now that's on me too. I'm not gonna be like I'm not to blame here, but we gotta demand more, man. We gotta demand more. Now I feel like I'm preaching, so I'm gonna
Hey,
stop.
no, I love
That's
it.
real. That's real.
I
So
love
support the
it.
people who cover HBCUs at the end of the day, like for real.
Hey, that's a fact, man. And I know today, like I just got off of Jeff Lightsey's podcast with Miss Love and everything, and we were going back and forth all day on social media, and even for even with like SWAC Buzz getting in there, and man, it's all love with them, man. Just because, listen, I promise you, I've been in circles like with the Auburn media. Everybody says the same thing and everybody agrees, and it is just boring. You got to have outside opinions. And so, even though you see us disagreeing, man, I'm in talks with Swag Buzz about hopping on here. Miss Love's coming, Lightsy's coming. Just because
Yeah, I
people
got lights on the show
disagree.
Friday.
Yep. Hey, just
Yeah,
because people disagree, I promise we still all rock with each other. So there ain't no ill will, even though we might get heated, have like a passionate discussion. Listen, it's all love at the end of the day, man. So I wanted to make sure y'all knew that because I had some people saying, "Oh man, they're beefing on Twitter." It's like no beef at all. I promise
Friday.
we're still all good, man. But listen, man,
Craig,
plug the podcast.
Craig
Go
Hall,
ahead,
what
man.
you talking about? Yeah, no, I'm gonna plug it. Craig Hall. Leave another comment on what you're saying. Come where? But plug the podcast. Yeah, you catch me Locked On HBCU. Catch me on Twitter at South Exclusives, right? And to disagree with off script.
I
Yeah,
love Mr. Carey, but he's one of a kind, man. He's one of a kind.
yeah. So look, Locked On HBCU Monday through Friday. You can catch content all the time. We're detailing everything, man. If there's things that you wanna talk about, I'm trying to build a community. At the end of the day, kinfolk, we family. At the end of the day, that's what it is. So at South Exclusives, you want to talk to me, tweet me, DM me, whatever. If you want to just DM me, I'll DM you. Like it's not a big deal to me. Might even actually prefer you to DM me, just so I don't like talking on the timeline that long, but I'm
I feel
always
that.
here to show love. So if you want to DM me, like don't think, but if you tweet me, there might be a limit on how many times I'll tweet back. Like I might just get tired. Like, but if you're DMing me, I'll consistently at least see it. So I'm gonna show love. Like, don't think I'm fake. All right, I'm not fake. But at the
Man,
end of the day, subscribe, Locked On HBCU at South Exclusives. Come talk to me. I want to talk to y'all. Come check out the content. We got a new episode coming out tomorrow morning. Day after that, Monday through Friday. Make sure you're checking it out.
man, this guy is so serious. Listen, I mean this. I don't say this about every guest I have on here. I need you guys to put this guy in the same conversation. Y'all have Scotty, y'all have me, y'all have CFL. This guy's doing big work, and I know that he's newer and everything. And Locked On HBCU is still newer. I need y'all to go subscribe to him because this guy drops just as good content as all of us. And listen, he had something to do tonight at 8. That's why we kind of cut this a little bit short. I promise he is going to be back on because we have a lot to talk about. And since he covers all HBCUs, let's just say there's some HBCUs that don't have a lot of coverage. My guy's going to be my contact for those schools too for these spring previews. So just know you're going to see this guy to my right a lot more, man. But
Thank you.
listen, I appreciate you, man. I'm looking forward to the episode. A lot of people are saying they subscribed. Also, I want to say before we head out, Miss Body, I need that pink hoodie. That one that you tagged me and all script on for Andrew. I need that pink hoodie. I need you to DM me. Let me know where I can send you the money. And I need that pink hoodie for the show, man. But guys,
CH dollar sign, love. When I
hey,
see people
man.
like love, man, I appreciate CH dollar sign.
Oh man, for sure. And guys, listen, make sure to go subscribe to him and subscribe to all the HBCU podcasts and channels out there, even the ones that might aggravate you a little bit. I got it. I understand. I know we all rub some people the wrong way sometimes, but guys, for my guy Darrion, for myself, for Locked On HBCU podcast and the Blue Bloods, we are out for right now.